The internet site People Israel defined itself as the guide to Israeli society. Do we need such a guide? And what does its founder have to say about the national religious part of society? INN TV spoke with Professor Oz Almog.
Do Israelis really understand Israelis? Professor Oz Almog, a sociologist from Haifa University, is one of the initiators of a unique online project called People Israel, the Guide to Israeli Society.
Our goal was to establish a guide, a comprehensive guide of the Israeli society, text and visuals that will allow the Israeli population and foreigners as well. Of course, now it's still in Hebrew, but we intend to translate it into English, to understand, to learn about the Israeli society with its different subgroups, because there is no one homogenic Israeli. There are different kind of Israelis and different kind of Israeliness. So they may learn about ultra-Orthodox, the Haredim, Kippot Srugot, the Russian immigrants, the Ethiopian immigrants, the veteran population, the Arab population, Muslim and Christian, etc., etc.
This month we are marking 3 years since the expulsion from Gush Katif and North Shomron. Almog explains the rift that was felt back then was a result of the way the secular public related to the religious public and observed what the pioneers were going through in a process they termed displacement.
Trends of escapism were very dominant. So he looked at the displacement as a TV event. It was a drama away from him. So he couldn't care less. He couldn't care less before and he couldn't care less after.
A rift was formed not only between the observant and non-observant, but also inside the national religious camp.
It actually enhanced the split inside this group between the more religious and the more moderate parts. So now you can hardly talk about one sector. It is a splitted sector, and what actually happens that in the displacement made it more extreme. This process.
Researching the Israeli public and as part of that the national religious camp brings Professor Almog to understand and even identify with this part of Israeli society.
And sympathize with a spiritual orientation. The way family is still so strong, it's an anchor. The orientation toward education, being a scholar, the collectiveness, altruism, thinking about the other, not only being concentrated in the individual, in being egocentric. It's when you come to this, when I lecture to those kind of groups, I'm lifted, always. It's something that we all long to. They still have the positive innocent.
Zionism, explains Almog, used to be some sort of national religion, a religion that made materialism less important. It was all about ingathering the exiles and building up the Jewish nation in the land of Israel.
The first one to discover it was Rav Kook, that actually saw the first pioneers in the second Aliyah Shneya, as sort of religious people. He thought that they are fulfilling religious goals.
The decline of ideals and secular Zionism throughout the years created a vacuum, a spiritual vacuum.
Into this vacuum, we see many things that being drifted inside. It can be New Age, ecology, saving the environment. It can be civil rights, anything that can give, or career. You're concentrating in your career. Career has become a sort of a religious, capitalist religious. So anything you tend to be devoted to something.
Almog says that we have to be careful when we look at the phenomenon of people adopting several Jewish traditional elements to their life. There's a difference, he says, between returning to Judaism and being part of a trend.
Several groups find Judaism or pseudo-Judaism as a component that can replace old Zionism. It gives them new meaning of life, but it's just a trend. It's like when a person eats sushi, it doesn't make him Japanese. When a person study Gemara or Daf Gemara for one day, for 1 hour, it doesn't make him a genuine religious Jew. If you want to become Jewish in religious sense, you have to sacrifice. It's a total transition. It's a different way of life. You can't just have a bite. They think that they can have a bite. Well, okay, if you want bites, okay, let it be.
And so Almog and his friends at People Israel will continue to try to let Israelis get familiar with one another.
So our goal is to abolish prejudice and to supply comprehensive information about the Israeli society so the Israelis will not stereotype.